Hi there and welcome to this review of the DALI KUPID loudspeakers. Now DALI stands for Danish Audiophile Loudspeaker Industries. They were founded in 1983 and they were founded by Peter Lindorff. Now you may be aware of Lindorff Audio, but you might not have been aware that he actually founded DALI as well. And for over the last 4 decades, DALI have been making some quality loudspeakers. But in recent times, and I'd say the last 3 years, they've been focused on the luxury end of the market. So I distinctly remember 3 years ago at the Munich high-end show standing in front of this 5.5 feet tall behemoth, which is the core speaker. And if you have a cool £85,000, then you should definitely go and check those out. These, however, are going to be a very different proposition because these are going to retail for $299. I've written a review which you can find on the site if you want to check out a bit more detail around the speakers. And as always, give us a like and a subscribe to keep in touch with the channel. My name is Tim Hancock. This is a review for AVForums. Now I'm not surprised to see that DALI have brought out a product at this level right now, because we are in a time when you've got units such as the Eversolo Play and the Weem Amp Ultra that are amazing products that have got incredible amount of features but just a one box and have a very small form factor. Now as good as those units are, they absolutely have to have a set of passive loudspeakers. So I guess DALI are assuming there's going to be a marketplace there and have brought out a product that sits squarely in that zone. The build and fit and finish is far higher, I think, than the price point that they're being aimed at. You've got these nice round edges, you've got this nice front contoured baffle, and I really like the little styling points around the tweeter and the subtle branding around the mid bass driver. And you also get a grill, and I think the grill is quite nice and I quite like it. Obviously it's quite personal as to whether you want to use them or not. And that grill is magnetic, so you get no ugly holes on the front of the speaker. When you flip the speaker round, the speaker terminals, again, they just feel really, really high quality. So as you're unboxing these and you're setting up, you just start to get that sense of a pride of ownership, which I think is really, really cool. Now it's worth mentioning that the DALI KUPID comes in 5 finishes. My review set here were the gold and yellow, but there's a black ash and a walnut finish, so they're very much the traditional finishes you'd expect. But alongside that you've got a caramel white and a chili blue. So there's something for everyone there, and I think they've done a really good job of that. In terms of engineering and design, this is a classic two-way design. We've got a 26mm ultra soft dome tweeter, and that's paired with a 4.5 inch mid bass driver. The mid bass driver is the proprietary paper and wood fiber makeup, and that's quite common across DALI loudspeakers and favoured by them. DALI states the crossover is new for the KUPIDs and obviously designed to make those two drivers work seamlessly together. Around the back you've got the bass reflex port, which obviously handles the bass frequencies as they leave the cabinet. That all seems rather normal and straightforward. What's slightly different about these speakers, in my opinion, is that they are rated at 4 ohms and 83 dB sensitivity. Now, that is definitely at the lower end of things and would suggest that any amplifier is going to have a bit of a workload to drive these speakers. The DALI KUPIDs ship with a wall bracket. It's a fairly basic thing really. It is just going to allow you to hook the speaker onto a wall because they don't weigh an awful lot. I did notice that there's no pre-drilled holes on the back of the speaker, so if you are going to use that, you're going to need to be pretty brave and start screwing directly into the back of your new speaker. They also come with 8 rubber feet that you can stick to the bottom of the speaker. That's obviously well worth doing, just isolates them from any surface or speaker stand that you're going to place them on. In terms of sound and in terms of their voicing, I think the KUPIDs are absolutely perfect. They're warm and lively and upfront and get you involved in the music. If these were your first speaker, your first hi-fi speaker. I just think that they would do exactly what you want them to do. There's a good level of detail. I was really impressed with the mid-range. There's ample space given to components of music, and I think that's really important because that's where most of the voice and instruments are heard. And say if you're playing like a live track, you get all of that sense of the venue and the reverb and the excitement of the crowd. It's all there. That tweeter, that 26mm soft dome tweeter, it never really gets anywhere near edgy. I personally have always found DALIs to be leaning towards that kind of warm, softer kind of sound, and these are no different. And it only really starts to struggle if you drive it incredibly high. Like, so if you're really looking for a kind of loud party level type volume, then these aren't right, and that's obviously in part due to their size. Interestingly, in the box there's a quick guide from DALI that they supply, and they have got a big cross next to any toe-in and a big tick next to having the speakers pointed straight out into the room. And I was quite surprised by that, because generally I always prefer a toe-in to the listening position. But I have to be in agreement with DALI on these. It definitely sound better pointing straight out into the room. And what about being fuss-free? Because that was all over the promotional material, that these are just a fuss-free, buy them, set and forget type of speaker. Well, I have to say, in fairness, I would agree with that. Wherever I placed them, I didn't find much difference to the sound when you push them right up against the wall. And the reason I did that is because if you wall mount them, that's indeed where they will be. Of course, a bit of boundary gain kicks in and you get a bit of boominess, but it doesn't seem to alter the sound. So I think placement is quite straightforward, and given their size, they're going to sit on any kind of shelf or any kind of sideboard, or indeed on stands, or even on a desktop, and I think that's perfect. Regarding that position of straight out into the room being the one, I think it also helps the Cupids do what I believe is their kind of most impressive sonic trait, which is soundstage. I was really super impressed with how wide and how big a picture they actually created. And I think that's because of how small they physically are. At times I was thinking, if you look the other way and just had the sound coming from behind you and then turned around, I could imagine people being quite surprised that what they were hearing was coming from those two small boxes. So that was really cool. And a track like the Celeste track, This Is Who I Am, which was from the most recent series, the Jackal, which is excellent if you didn't check it out. That track is a great example of that. There's a good height and airiness to that vocal, which kind of sits over that haunted piano sound underneath. There are, of course, limits to the Cupids. There is a detail ceiling here that becomes apparent, and they do tend towards the thinner side of things, particularly with electronic dance music or metal. Sometimes you're missing just that ultimate depth. But I have to caveat that and think, obviously I've been exposed to systems of a higher price point. I've owned floor standers, I've had subwoofers. I do wonder if you came to these fresh without any of that background, whether you would miss that at all. Because like the other sound qualities, the bass is actually, the bass sound over indexes versus the size of the speakers and performs really well. Certainly the biggest compliment I can pay is my time with the Cupids was really enjoyable. It's not like you listen to them and think, oh, something's missing. For me then, the DALI Kupids are a terrific speaker. DALI have brought out a speaker that is so compact, you could pretty much place it anywhere, the desktop, speaker stands, a sideboard, wherever really. And I think they've absolutely got the proposition of these right. I was reflecting while I had them actually that it's a great time in two-channel audio right now, because you've got, at the time of shooting this video, Spotify Lossless has just launched, and it costs nothing extra if you already had a premium subscription in place. Those units I mentioned earlier that could be partners to the Cupids, the Ever Solo Play, the Wii Amp Ultra, they do so much, but they barely take up any room. And that combination would give you a music system that is eminently affordable but performs incredibly well, and that's what we want. We want more people coming to the market. So kudos to DALI. I think they've done a good job with this product. It's $299, but its build and sound is anything but. They are really fun. They've got the right level of refinement. I'm really struggling to imagine that someone would buy them and be disappointed by them. So if indeed you are looking for your first hi-fi speaker, or if indeed you're looking for a sound system elsewhere in your house, then it's very easy to recommend the DALI Kupids. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on grooving.